I was reading it, glasses smashing and some high octane music. So while still in law school at UNC, Scott conceived and launched Top of the Hill Restaurant and Brewery, one of the state's oldest brew pubs, winning more than 70 Best of Triangle Awards and serving as a cornerstone of Chapel Hill's entrepreneurial and civic life. For more than 20 years, Scott has taught entrepreneurship at UNC Canaan Flagler Business School, where he works closely with founders and students on idea formation, customer discovery, capital strategy, and the practical realities of building businesses. He continues to mentor early-stage entrepreneurs across the Triangle. Please put your hands together for Scott Mann. Scott, I want to start off with a quick story. Katie came to Carolina in 2004, and we're from Burlington. And I was, shocker, but I did not get into any four-year university right off the jump. So I was in ACC Community College, and I would come up here to see my girlfriend on the weekends. And the very first place we went to when she got to Carolina was Top of the Hill. So, and now I married her. So if you go to Top of the Hill, you're going to end up marrying the person that you go to Top of the Hill. It's just a fact.
Well, I got to tell you that's actually the thing that warms my heart the most about doing what I do is that you'd be amazed at how many people tell me that exact story. And for a generation, from that like 99 to 2014 period, we were the biggest bar in the state of North Carolina. And when we say bar, we're the biggest place that people socialized. And honestly, we've had people, run the circuit in the sense that they met, got engaged, and got married up at Top of the Hill. So, anyways, that's kind of stories that they were wanting to have.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of stories. Some of them I can't really share in public at Top of the Hill. but nonetheless, I appreciate your presence. So, before we get into the Top of the Hill, for those of you who might not know Scott personally, why don't you tell people a little bit about you, where you're from, and kind of your background, and kind of what forms your attitude on things?
Sure. I'm originally from East Los Angeles, and so technically, if you're from that area, I'm from West Whittier, but it was right on that transition zone. And basically, I'm growing up, and I'm walking to school along the railroad tracks, and I see this old building that I didn't understand what it was. And in, I don't know, 6th grade, 5th grade, I have to do a report. And of course, back then, right, no Google or whatever, so I had the 1959 World Book Encyclopedia, and it makes me go to W to look whatever I needed up. And I thought to myself, I'm going to look up my town, right? I'm going to look up at Whittier. And Whittier in 1959, now this is like 1977, 1959, Whittier was the largest exporter of citrus fruit in the entire world, right? And that weird building was the actual citrus depot thing that was on the railroad spur. And here I am in 1978, whatever it is, and there's not one working grove. It is all houses and strip malls and just been totally changed. And so this is very formative for me because ultimately I get a chance to go to West Point. I'm in the Gulf War. I end up being Perot's campaign manager for the state of Florida in the '92 election. I come out and I'm lucky enough to get a scholarship here at Carolina. But what attracted me to Carolina itself was because I originally was going to go to Yale, but I had this opportunity for a scholarship. And I fell in love with the town. And I fell in love with the idea that there had been a town that had been there since 1789. And I just couldn't fathom that really. And so I thought this is really great for lots of reasons. So I stayed here. And in my second year of law school, I'd gotten out of the Army with the firm conviction never let someone stupider than me be in charge of me again. And you veterans know what I'm talking about, right? And so I'd gotten the advice that if I was serious about starting my own business, go to law school instead of business school. And so when I get to law school, I start thinking, well, maybe a law firm is going to be my business. But by my second year, I realized I don't want to practice law. I don't really like the model of law. And so I'm wondering what I'm going to do when they announce they're going to put a TGI Fridays in the new building that they just built downtown. And I didn't want to see a chain restaurant dominate downtown Chapel Hill. It felt very much what I saw happen in Southern California, and I wanted to stop that. And so I had no experience and no money, but I geared the rest of my education in terms of raising money, and I came up with the idea of Top of the Hill Restaurant and Brewery. And the whole goal of that was to create a place where different parts of the community could come together. And what I learned is that my scholarship, I was the dean's research assistant. And because I'd been in the Army, I was not really just like the students that came right out of undergrad. And I wasn't a second career person because I didn't have a family. But I hung out with all those different groups, and I realized that those groups did not mix anywhere in town. And so the driving idea of Top of the Hill was to make a place where those groups could mix. And hearing stories like yours and hearing all kinds of stories, people saying, I made the decision to move to Chapel Hill, eating lunch at your place, I made the decision to come to school here. That's the kind of stuff that really gets me excited.
How old were you when you started Top of the Hill?
Well, when I came up with the idea, I must have been 26 or something. And
Jenna, where's Jenna? You've got 2 years to come up with an idea.
Hey, I got something cooking.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, so 26 when I thought of it, and I guess I was 28 when I wrote it.
Yeah, and so for those of you who might not know, I was shocked when we Katie and I, we like to go hang out with people before we do these interviews, and I didn't know this. What was there in that location before a new building was built?
Yeah, I'm kind of stunned that more people don't know. It was a gas station. And now it's interesting because I never saw the gas station because I came in for the competition for the scholarship, and literally it had been knocked down the day before, which is kind of crazy. So I've never seen the gas station, but if you go to Top of the Hill and you take a look at the wall, there is a picture of a gas station. And I need to put a sign there because even though it says Top of the Hill, I think a lot of people are like, why is there a gas station here, right? And so anyways, it's the old gas station. It was alternatively known as Top of the Hill or the Happy Store. And this is a weird aside, but Happy Store. Like what a great name for some kind of food or beer item, like, hey, it's the Happy Store platter or whatever. And I was so excited to find that out and think about it. And of course, over 30 years of operation, I have never figured out how to use that. So I still have never called anything the Happy Store.
Hopefully it was nothing nefarious.
Largest beer cellar in the state in 1984.
Happy Store.
The Happy Store, Top of the Hill, will kind of mutate back and forth. But when the gas station was torn down, there was a piece of graffiti that was put on the wall of what was then the old Carolina Theater, and it said Big Bertha was the first to go. And I didn't know what that was, but as I got into the beer world, realized that Big Bertha was the walk-in cooler at Fowler's. And so we had a very beer-forward graffiti artist back then. I think I know who it was. I think it was Michael Benson, if anyone knows Michael, right? But Fowler's had Big Bertha, and when Fowler's got torn down, Big Bertha was ripped out. Now, for those of you that think, oh, it's too bad Big Bertha's dead, she's not dead. A third of Big Bertha got yanked over to the dead mule, and that is the walk-in cooler. So there are these legacies and histories and stuff all around town. So next time you're at the dead mule, realize that you got about 70 years of beer history there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's a perfect segue to beer history. So today, craft brew and the whole micro pub thing, it's like, it's kind of, it's great, it's everywhere, right? But so take us back to a world where people are drinking Zimas and smoking cigarettes in bars, and tell us about the dawn of the microbrew.
Yeah, so I was aware of brew pubs because I took a great trip in California when I was in school. It was still at West Point, and bumped into Sierra Nevada back when they were first opening. And I credit that Sierra Nevada Pale Ale with creating my love for craft beer, and I would still recommend that beer to anybody if you want to know about craft beer. What a great story, what a great group of people. But when we start Top of the Hill, again, my idea was to create a place that was for everybody. We had a lot of bars in town, but they were pretty low end, and I'd be remiss, seriously, like the thing that I'm struck at today, and what I'm very excited about, when I tried to start my business, there was no group like this anywhere, right? There was like, oh, you're gonna start a business? Well, there was some dude that graduated a couple of years in front of you. Go see him. right? And so I'm very proud of the fact that we, as a community of entrepreneurs and business owners, we have created things like this in Chapel Hill and here. And honestly, the blend here, I mean, I see so many faces I recognize that, you know, I really do see us as one community. And so anyways, very excited to be here. But when I came up with my idea, I was told by the person responsible for the development of downtown Chapel Hill, stupidest idea I've ever heard. Right. This is the person that's supposed to be your cheerleader, right? And honestly, if you knew me, that probably was the best thing, because it pissed me off so much. I was like, all right, MFer, we're going to show you, right? Anyways, it's a story in terms of getting there and convincing the landlord that we want to open up the place. But the idea of craft beer was such a novelty that when we finally did get open, literally, if I had this conversation once, I had it 10,000, 20,000 times. Customer would come up and say, I'd like a Budweiser. And we would say, we're a brewery, we only sell what we make. Here's the menu. And they'd say, okay, I'll take a Coors Light. Right? And the whole concept of, no, we make this. That was so new. And what I thought was interesting, and it comes to bite me in the butt later with the distillery, but people really don't know that people have to make things. And when things become successful, big places come in and scale it, right? But they don't realize that there's still this idea of craft. And so when I started the first organic distillery in the South, I just kind of assumed by then that people that were interested in distilling would know, yeah, well, this is a craft distiller. They actually make it. Well, it turns out, no, nobody understood what the heck distilling is. And if you don't know, in order to make liquor, you got to make beer or wine first, and then you distill the alcohol from it. But people didn't know, and still don't know, that somebody makes it. And one of the reasons why they don't know that, and you can see I've got PTSD from running a failed distillery for 10 years, but 95% of distillers don't make it. They buy it, and then they market it. And God damn it, that pisses me off. Anyway. But yeah, people didn't know we understood it, and then one of the things that we talked about was this idea of the changing of the time. You know, how did I get the seed money to start Top of the Hill? Well, my father passed away my second year in law school, right about all this time. And I got $50,000 from him, passing away. And I used that to start Top of the Hill. Now, he passed away because he smoked 4 packs a day. Okay? I just want you to think about that for a second.
That's a lot of packs.
You gotta work to smoke.
That's a full-time job.
My mother, who divorced my father, still says, oh, he didn't smoke 4 packs a day. I'm like, Mom, I'm the guy that put the packs in his briefcase, right? And so in any event, the point is, I've never smoked, for obvious reasons, right? And when I started Top of the Hill, there was this rumblings that they were going to, they being Orange County, were going to make it that you could not smoke in bars and restaurants inside. And I was like, this is great, I don't want to smoke. And so I made Top of the Hill. We were the first non-smoking restaurant in Orange County. But what I think was fascinating was I got death threats.
Wow.
Right? Death threats. And this is before social media and all that. It's like old school letter under the door, we're coming to kill you. Right? So, anyway, and this is the part of the story that I don't really tell. I forget about that. But, you know, Top of the Hill's been around so long, and I don't even think about it, but you know, some of the first non-smoking place. We were the first LLC to do a registered offering in the state of North Carolina. And we also did this thing called the Founders Club, which we ended up doing Founders Club 2.0 during COVID. But my landlord was concerned that Top of the Hill wouldn't be successful. And my landlord, the first time I met him, he's from Fayetteville, his first words to me, literally his first words to me were, I hate Army officers. Okay? So, and the relationships pretty much stayed the same since. But he wanted me to prove that I was going to be successful. And really what he gave me was a Herculean task that he didn't think I would be able to solve. And so I came up with what we would now know as, like a living social deal or something, but we didn't have those back then, right? So what I said was, give me between $100 and $1,000, and when I open, I will give you twice your money in gift certificates. I will put your name on the wall, and I'll give you a t-shirt. And we ended up getting about 540 people doing this. And the irony about that is that my landlord didn't realize that his vice president had given me a key to the space. And so, and of course we don't have emails, or people, I guess we had emails, but not many people had emails. And there were no cell phones and all that. And so I would I put out in the town like these flyers saying that the space will be open on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 3 and 6, because that worked with my class schedule. And then I would just show up and hang out, and I had like pictures of the concept of the restaurant, and people would come up and find out what was going on, and whatever. And we sold 540 memberships of these, and so why all of this is important is that we've gone through all of this stuff, and I won't get into all of it, but it's taken 2.5 years to get it open, all kinds of challenges. We're 1 week away when the North Carolina Department of Securities comes and says, the Founders Club is a security, and you are illegally selling securities. And I'm like, how is it a security? It's a gift certificate. We have to go to court, right? And I always knew every year when lawyers were doing CLE, because I would start getting calls from friends that I went to law school with saying, hey, did you know that they're teaching your case today about what defines actual security? So what's really wild is I used to want to change the world. I decided I only wanted to change a corner, and I ended up making an impact, and been far bigger.
Putting a dent in the universe a little bit. Well,
yeah.
So, one of the things I want to highlight, you might have missed it, but he glossed over when how many of you right now own your own business? Awesome. So, you know what I'm about to say here, the blood, sweat, and tears, the pain points, right? And so, I've met a lot of business owners, working in here and other things that I do, and the mark of a strong leader is somebody who is very open and honest with their war stories and the blood in their mouth moments, right? And I met, we haven't hung out a bunch, but in the times I've met you, I've noticed that you are not afraid to...
Have I sprayed blood?
You're not afraid to tell people, hey, listen, I messed up right here. This was the moment I messed up, or this didn't work out, or that didn't work out. And I think that's empowering, and we can't, obviously, in this small amount of time, get into all those today from our conversation.
If we wanted to talk about my successes, we could probably fit in the time. If we wanted to talk about my failures, we could go a couple days.
And so, you mentioned West Point a couple times. Before we get into kind of a little bit of those war stories, what in the spirit informs that get up off the mat attitude? Is it West Point? Is it your upbringing? Is it a quote? What's the mantra that you kind of hang on?
Well, this is a little TMI probably, but my father was kind of abusive, and I figured out pretty quickly that I needed to make it on my own. So I think I was driving myself. And then to go to West Point, oh man, that was awesome, right? And it is the premier leadership and premier maker of great establishment in the United States, as far as I'm concerned. And so to be able to just take these incredibly talented men and women and put them in situations where, by definition, you're going to fail. You just can't do it. But you do it enough, and then when you do make it, you turn around and help the guy that's not making it, right? And sometimes you're the guy that's not making it, and you get pulled along, right? So to have that and to realize that, the goal of this is to create Army officers, and we fight and win the nation's wars. And one of the things that I think that we forget about, and unfortunately recent events are reminding us, is that that's no joke. Now, we can sit around and talk about football being a war and all that bullshit, right? Yeah. This is a absolutely cannot let the other person win situation. And I think that if you're gonna, I think that West Point really kind of drives that in.